All right, y'all. We are back. Good evening. Back every Monday night, 7:30 Eastern, with the Rotoballer PGA show. My name is Ian, alongside my co-host Matt Miller, going into our first elevated event or signature event, I guess it's called now, of 2026 at Pebble Beach Golf Links. Yeah, plenty to get to, of course, with not only the course but the odds board coming up this week with everybody in attendance. First and foremost, though, let's go back 1 week. The Phoenix Open. Crazy Sunday. I don't know how much of it you watch. I know a lot of things going on in the sports world yesterday, but yeah, I think it was something like the seventh playoff in the last 15 years in Phoenix. Got her up birdies 5 of the last 6 holes to get into the playoff, and then Hideki, yeah, pretty predictably, I think, kind of chokes off the tee and more or less hands the tournament to him. But yeah, got her up. Second win in 4 starts to start his 2026, up to 5th in the world now. Matt, overall thoughts on Phoenix and, of course, Goddard's big-time win?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, we were talking about Goddard. I think it was whatever event he played after the Sony, and we were saying obviously he's been playing, really well, but it's tough to see him winning again that quickly because it's hard to win on the PGA Tour. And here he does it again. He's becoming quite the closer. Really, kind of seems like a rising star in the game. A lot of positives, to say about him. He comes up, clutch down the stretch. Lots to like about his game. So very impressed by him. And like you mentioned, I mean, it was such an interesting Sunday. I had Hovland. He got himself back into the mix. I mean, he was like 2 back, yeah, I think, at the turn, and then he didn't really do much on the back 9. But it was a pretty ridiculous kind of start to the round from Hideki, who was just scrambling all over the place and chipping in and making 40 footers. It was insane. So I did for a while think this is just his week. Everything's going his way. But yeah, it ultimately did him in at the end. But like you said, I mean, the tournament seems to always produce. We had the 1 year where I guess Dietrich kind of ran away with it, but for the most part, it's been really exciting leading into the Super Bowl almost every year. So another good event.
I think I had something in my article last week that was in the last 15 years, only 2 WM Phoenix Opens have been decided by more than 2 shots, which was Dietrich last year, and I think Phil had a runaway win when he almost shot 59. It was back in the 2010s. But yeah. Crazy drama, of course, down the stretch, and those final 6 holes are unbelievable because you can play them like Goddard up and make a huge surge up the leaderboard, or you can go level par through 6 or even over par through 6 like Hovland did. I mean, he was 4. I tracked his round pretty closely because, like you, I was quite high on him last week. I didn't get to him from an outright perspective, but yeah, I was kind of tracking him for. I guess the wrong reasons, hoping he didn't win because I didn't really want to deal with the regret of not betting him at 45-1 after I liked him so much last week. But yeah, he missed the putt on 13, 6 footer for birdie, and then he rinsed it on 15. So yeah, a lot of risk.
It was crazy because I mean, if you would have told me at the turn he was minus 13, he was 4 under on the round, and if you would have told me that all he needed to do with 2 par 5s and a drivable par 4 coming in is just birdie those 3, and he would have got to the playoff, I would have felt pretty good about it because he was hitting it pretty good up to that point. But he went backwards on the back 9, and that's kind of, we touched on it a little bit last week, but that's kind of what makes this course and these closing holes kind of so exciting, because the holes that have the scoreable opportunities, there's also a lot of trouble on. 15, he went in the water. Obviously 17's a kind of big, there's water on the left, and then depending on where your tee shot lands, it can get interesting there.
Yeah, honestly, looking back on it, I feel like I missed a bit of an opportunity. Not necessarily on Goddard. I don't know if I would have gotten there at any point in his round, but just seeing how Hideki was hitting it through the first, really all day, but mostly that front 9, he could not keep it on the planet off the tee. And knowing how much peril was looming on that back 9, I think it was maybe worthwhile. I know Spencer he hit Goddard live in the playoff at minus 110 or minus 105 and cashed that pretty easily. So yeah, I think I was I already had my Siwoo Kim ticket. Like I kind of snagged a Siwoo Kim live ad on Friday at a stale number 100-1. So I already had kind of my vested interest in the week. But I think it was, it was definitely smart. I think because I think we all kind of figured that he was going to have to pay the piper eventually. Whether or not he was able to close the deal is a different story. But I mean, you just can't keep driving the ball the way he was. And
yeah, it was insane. Yeah. At one point, I forget, I got a text, and I won't waste too much time trying to find it, but it was basically his stats, and the off the tee was like, oh, here it is. He was, 69th. He ranked in the field off the tee, minus 4.64. And then around the green was 1, approach was 2, putting was 3. And it was just like, he was, holding everything together barely, but every hole, it seemed like he was in trouble.
Hole, yeah. I mean, he made like 3 putts outside of 20 feet for par. And then people talk about 18, the drive on 18, but the drive on 17 very easily could have went in the water as well. Like he pulled it left, and then it somehow snags like right on the bank of the water. If that rolls like an extra 2 feet to the left or forward, then that's probably fine in the water like Thor Bjornsson did. But yeah, just a crazy week. I thought I had something more to say about it, but it was very reminiscent of the Cam Smith Players Championship win that he had back in 2021, I think 2022, back when he was.
Yeah, that was like the Monday finish, right?
Yeah, when Cam like legit just the entire week, I think he it was just like I had him that week. It was like driving the trees, pitch out, wedge 2 feet, make the putt. Like it was just like that was every hole for Cam, and Hideki almost found it. Just need the par on the last, and then just could not get it down at 4 on 18. So also, if you're Hideki, how on earth do you let yourself miss left? I know he was probably struggling like mentally at that point with the off the tee, but like if you like on that 18th hole, if you just blow it right, you're fine. Like there's like hospitality on there. Like there's really no trouble at all. I was stunned. I mean, I guess I'm sure he probably mishit it, and that wasn't his intention to take on the bunker left. But yeah, just kind of from like a neutral perspective, I was fully expecting to just like bail out in the bunker right, like hit it onto the green or at least like around the green. And the short game's so good that he'll just get it up and down and win the tournament. But yeah, all due respect to Goddard, I mean the dude just careered on that back nine and comes up with a second win. So, but yeah. Anyway, crazy week. It keeps on coming here as we now enter Pebble Beach. First signature event of the year. It'll be a string of 4 signature events in 5 weeks. We got this, Rib, and then Cognizant, which is the one outlier of this kind of stretch, and then we go straight to Bay Hill and the Players. So, yeah, coming thick and fast on the PGA Tour. Signature event number 1. I love the fact that the PGA Tour has actually made Pebble Beach it's given it a spot that it deserves on the schedule, as opposed to like when I was growing up, it was basically just like a throwaway event where we'd see celebrities like play and shoot whatever scores they're shooting. Taking way too much TV time. So
yeah, it's one of the most iconic courses, obviously, in the country and in the world. And to your point, for a while they kind of were wasting it with. I mean, there's still, I guess, the Pro-Am. It's only 2 rounds now, but just because of the way it was set up, the 3-course rotation, a lot of guys just skipped it on the schedule, and it didn't really do it justice.
Yeah, and hey, I mean, they took away Monterey Peninsula, so we only have Spyglass and Pebble Beach. So that'll be the format this week. It'll be the last course rotation of the season. Half the field plays Spyglass round 1, half the field plays Pebble Beach. They split on round 2, and 36-hole cut. Even though there's only 80 some guys in the field, top 65 in ties do make it into the weekend. So, yeah, and there's actually shot link on Spyglass as well, which is very rare for course rotations. So you'll actually have a chance to track your players, even if they're not on the main stage on Thursday or Friday. So let's move into the second segment here, the modeling we have for Pebble Beach. We did find a bit of value. If you watched the show last week, Goddard was 8th in the model, and I kind of feel bad. I had a buddy that texted me Tuesday or Wednesday yesterday because Bet365 had a boost of 66-1 on Chris Goddard, and I kind of endorsed the play, but I didn't really take it into account, like adding him to my card, because I was more or less, "What's up, Chris? How you doing, man?" That's my buddy, co-host on iCunning. But yeah, I didn't maybe take it as serious as I probably should have. I was more or less just trying to figure out like if I was going to bet Hovland or not. And then Goddard goes out there in round 1. I think he was the first round leader. And I was like, oh dang, it's gonna be one of those type of weeks. So I had to kind of avoid the group chat as the 66-1 Goddard comes home when he asked me about him on Tuesday, Wednesday. But yeah, he was 8th in the model at Waste Management. So if you did, that did present some pretty blind value, even without the what's up, John? How you doing, man? John is actually the friend I'm referring to. He was the one that turned me on to the 66-1 Goddard that I promptly ignored. But yeah, like I said, we did find some blind value last week at the WM. Number 8 in the modeling, he was like 40, 50 to 1 across the board, even without the boost. So hopefully someone got in. I know I saw some Goddard tickets out there. So for those of y'all that had that belief, I went back and checked the Farmers model. Rose was not in our top 20, so can't really feel bad there that missed those. But we did go, kind of 1 for 2, finding value in the winners, doing this little exercise. But let's move into the modeling. I'll give Matt the floor here. Again, if you guys are new to this segment, we are kind of doing a little draft for the key stats that we're weighing this week, making a little preliminary model for Pebble Beach. We each picked 3 stats, so 6 total. Again, pretty bare bones at the end of the day, but just something to kind of reference as the show goes on. So, Matt, if I can give you one stat, your very favorite stat for Pebble Beach this week, what do you think is the most important for a skill set?
I'll take the easy one. I'll go with approach from 100 to 150. This is very much going to be, a lot of wedges into the greens this week. So that's going to be where I'm going to start. I think a lot of people are on the same page with that, but we'll start there.
Yeah, for sure. Over 40% of approach shots historically here have come from inside 150 yards. So very much the antithesis of a lot of the courses we've seen over the last 2 weeks. Farmers, Waste Management, both long iron, mid iron intensive golf courses. Not so much the same this week. I'll take the other very low hanging fruit. I'm going to go last 5 years Poana putting. Of course, this is the second California Poana stop after Torrey Pines between Torrey and Riv. So I'm taking last 5 years splits between the 3 California courses: Pebble Beach, Torrey Pines, Riviera. Again, off the tee, not really a big separating. We might talk about that in a little bit, but it's really kind of a contest of who can gain the most strokes inside 150 yards. A lot of guys are going to be, driving the ball to very similar spots, and it sets up as very much kind of a wedge and putting contest at the end of the day, especially as we see a forecast with pretty little wind for Pebble Beach. So I've got putting on Poana last 5 years. Matt has got overall proximity 100 to 150 yards last 12 months. And Matt, second round pick, what you got?
I'm going to go with I'll go with course history at Pebble Beach. I know that it's kind of like a unique spot in the schedule. The time of the year out there tends to be a little wet, and you can get some wind on the coast. So I think it's sort of a unique spot on the schedule. I'll put that in and weigh kind of how guys have typically played in these conditions and on this course.
For sure. And I think, if you're looking for maybe some more recent, just a more recent data point in terms of like wedge proximity, like shorter golf course positional setup, like Amex, I think is a pretty solid rendition. Usually I look at like Kapalua at the start of the year, coastal, like wedge intensive, pretty easy golf course without wind. So yeah, but Amex, I would say, especially as opposed to like a Torrey or a Scottsdale, I think if you're looking for like, just the basic skill set that we're looking for this week, that's probably the best market we've had to this point. I'll go with around the greens. I mean, basically the big talking point this week about Pebble Beach is the smallest greens on the PGA Tour. We're going to see a well below average green and regulation percentage, despite the fact that these guys are going to have 150 yards and in on so many of their approach shots. So, very, very difficult to envision a week where the top players in this leaderboard aren't going to have at least a few like key scrambling, par saves. So I'm gonna give some love to around the greens. Not very often we steer into this angle as opposed to just pure ball striking, but yeah, certainly I think around the greens plays as much or even a bigger role than off the tee in general this week around Pebble Beach. So if I'm rank ordering the 4 strokes gain stats, it's approach and putting as always at the very top, and then I would actually put around the greens over off the tee this week.
Yeah, I like that. I agree. Like you mentioned with the small greens.
That would be Okay, Chris, it's a Colin Morikawa one. All right, don't you worry. We're gonna talk all about Colin and his current situation on the odds board. But so we do have two more stats, Matt. 10% or as so far we have 20% weighting on wedge proximity, strokes gained putting, 15% each on course history and around the green play. So 10% each left. You have a stat that you're going to for your last pick?
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, I guess we can look at it. I'm not too worried about off the tee this week, so I'm going to take a step back and just go strokes gained approach in general. I mean, I know we already have the 100 to 150, but I'm just going to kind of accomplish a little bit more of that, just approach play. I think it's very much a second shot course this week, so I'll take that one for my last.
Yeah, it's not often that I completely ignore like off the tee in a given week, but again, this is a week where these fairways are super wide for how short the course is. You're not really going to have a lot of drivers of the course's layout. I mean, you think of maybe 2, 8, 2, 9, 10, maybe 18, depending on how aggressive you want to be. But like you're talking like 4 to 5 or 14 as well was a definite driver hole. So like, 4 to 5 drivers over the course of the week, over the course of like a round at Pebble Beach. But 1 is clubbed down. 4, 3 is also clubbed down. You can even club down on the first par 5 at 6 because you have that water coming down on the right-hand side for a lot of the longer hitters. Of course, 8 is like mandatory club down. 11 is club down. 13 is a little longer, but then you have 15, 16, which are both club down holes. So you can kind of extrapolate. Not a lot of drivers to be hit. And even though Rory did win here last year, like gaining 6.1 shots off the tee, so he is the outlier. But in general, you don't really have to be a prolific driver to win here. So that being said, I'm gonna again ignore off the tee. I'm gonna go with just general putting stats. I know the Poana splits are probably the most important thing this week. You want to have a guy that feels comfortable on the West Coast and has had success putting in California. But given the fact that the sample size, even though we're going back 5 years, is quite small because we only get 3 to 4 of these stops on a given year, I'm going to go just general putting. Last 50 rounds, strokes gained putting here in this field. So let's go ahead and generate the modeling. I'm going to pivot here. Oops, I got to give it a name. Sorry. There we go. Share the screen. All right, you see that? Okay. All right. Let's see if I can make it bigger. Okay, there it is. A little bit bigger now. The top 10 in the modeling, of course, Scotty Scheffler, ever present at the top of the list. Tommy Fleetwood is number 2. Jason Day, 3. Sam Burns, 4. I can't stand that guy after what he did to me at Phoenix. Denny McCarthy, number 5. Justin Rose, 6. Matt McNeely, 7. Russell Henley, 8. Victor Hovland, 9. Harry Hall, 10. Cantley, 11. Nick Taylor, 12. Colin Morikawa, 13. There you go, Chris. Eat that. Hideki Matsuyama, 14. Lucas Glover, 15. Jake Knapp, 16. Xander, 17. Siwoo, 18. Wyndham, 19. Bridgman, 20. So that is the top 20 there. Anything stand out for you there, Matt, in terms of the modeling?
I don't think it's anything crazy. I mean, I think a lot of the names that we expected. I'm disappointed to see my guy Harry Hall back on the list. I'm going to avoid him this week, but after I spoke so highly of him at the Amex and he screwed me.
At least you're not paying 35 to 1 like you did a few weeks ago. He's a little the odds board this week, so there's more credence to it. But yeah, I actually really like this model. I think it's actually pretty similar to what I kind of came up with in my own time. But a lot of guys that have played well here before, that makes sense here. So yeah, maybe the off the tee punt maybe is the play, despite the fact that the best driver in the game. Hey, Chris is on my wavelength. He's disrespecting Harry Hall right in front of you, but that's Matt's guy, Chris. So you'll come to find that out. And Spencer's guy too. He's a UNLV guy. So yeah, don't talk bad about Harry and the King of the Draft show. We're not coming on tomorrow night either. But yeah, that's going to give us a general sense of the landscape here. Let's talk through the odds board here, which again features basically everyone you can ask for on the PGA Tour. If they're not on, if they haven't defected to live, this is basically everyone that we have left here at the top of the board. Of course, features Scotty Scheffler. Because this is an elevated event, we're gonna kind of go one by one. Usually, we just go straight to ranges, but I do think there's talking points to be had about the top players on this odds board. So we're going to start with Scotty Scheffler, of course. As we always do with the Scotty start, I think we kind of have to do our our preamble on without markets or how scared you are of him. Put into context for us, Matt, kind of coming into Pebble Beach. Number one, are you scared of Scheffler? Did you consider either betting him or placing bets in the without market? And maybe where does that compare to maybe say what we felt this time last week?
I'm of course scared of him, but I didn't consider taking him, and I didn't really give too much consideration to the without Scheffler market. I think I'm just gonna kind of let him beat me if he's gonna beat me until further notice. But yeah, it was weird. I mean, first round last week, he kind of showed that he was human. I was, pretty surprised, and I think I even said it in one of my group chats, like, oh, that's why you don't bet the without Scheffler market. And then he almost came back and freaking won. So that's kind of what you get with him. I mean, even with a terrible first round, he still almost, got it done. So definitely very scary. I think, I think we have to almost assume that he's going to be right in the mix on the weekend with a chance to win. But I'm going to continue to just kind of take him on for right now.
Yeah, I do agree. I think in like the 1 to 10 barometer of like how scared I am of Scotty, it's probably like a 5.5, 6 this week. In general, just for Pebble Beach in general, I don't really think this is a spot where I'm looking to play the top of the board ever. It's like we mentioned in modeling, it's one of the most benign driving courses on the PGA Tour. It features a ton of approach shots inside 150, which when you're talking about like separating the elite iron players from like a middling iron player, typically the more long irons and middle irons you have in the greens, the more those guys are going to separate. The Scotty Schefflers, the Colin Morikawas, the Rory McIlroys, right? The best iron players in the world, they tend to accentuate that skill set when we reach a golf course where they have to hit a lot of 5 and 6 and 7 irons in the greens as opposed to just wedges. And of course, like the ever-present wind off the coast of the Monterey Peninsula, like also kind of throws a bit of a wrench in this in terms of further ramping up the unpredictability on leaderboards. So as opposed to other venues where Scotty's dominated through the years, like Bay Hill, Muirfield Village, Sawgrass, I don't think Pebble Beach is really as well equipped to separate like elite tee to green play from lesser ball striking talents. Especially, like I said, like when you're talking about the best wedge players on the planet versus like the 40th best wedge player, the difference in proximity is only like 3 or 4 feet, so it really comes down more to, can you make a 15-footer routinely versus really, really stamping or accentuating your gifts from tee to green. So, I mean, I'm less scared of Scotty this week than I was last week. But again, I will say I made a very similar case of the American Express when it comes down to like a golf course that really doesn't separate elite tee to green talent. And of course, he won that event by 4 shots. So he's absolutely, of course, the player to beat. But yeah, I'm kind of with Matt in the case where, ask me at Bay Hill or Sawgrass, I'm going to be a lot more urgent in my decision to play that without markets or fade him. So, so that's all I got to say about Scotty. Again, not much to say. I'm sure DFS shows might have a little more interesting conversation, but 3-1, I don't think it was ever in consideration for either of us outright. And for me, Rory McIlroy at 13-1 was similarly kind of out of contention right off the bat. He was maybe the easiest like X off or cross off to make among the top names. I know he won here last year, and of course he has the talent to win anywhere on tour, but just given the required skill set here, a golf course that largely takes driver out of your hands, accentuates wedge play, accentuates short game and putting. Of course, Rory can spike in any given stat in a given week, but when you look just overall at skill sets, Rory always tends to separate himself on golf courses like Augusta National, TPC Sawgrass, that again puts a mid iron in his hand, puts a long iron in his hand on a more routine basis. And yeah, if this is just going to become like a wedge fest inside 150 yards like we expect, then I'll take my medicine if he wins again at 12-1.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, he's improved like greatly as a wedge player, but that was for a long time sort of the weakness in his game. And I'm kind of with you. I mean, it's the way he plays. He won last year, so it's tough to say this course isn't really built for him. But this is not a course where I think that he separates himself too much from the rest. Although he did take some pretty interesting lines off the tee last year that kind of allowed him to play the course a little bit differently. But I'm still willing to take my chances with the field rather than taking him at like 13-1. I just like other names further down the board, and I don't think he has that much better of a chance to win here than some of the other guys.
Yeah, no, I agree. My numbers have him. I mean, obviously Scotty's at the top, and he's kind of in a tier of his own. But the next tier of like Rory, Fleetwood, some of the guys we're going to list here in a second, I had pretty close together. So whenever I'm getting double the price on a lot of those guys, that's going to be the direction I choose to take. All right, we get into past the top two, which I don't think you're going to see on many cards this week, quite frankly. But we start the 25-1 range with Siwoo Kim. And this starts a range of about 5 or 6 names I think are going to really be key decision points for at least me this week. Given how many guys I like further down the board on a week like this, I have to be a bit more selective with the names I choose from like 25 to 30 because I can't pile in those names and then miss out on some of the names I really like in the 50, 60-1 range and beyond. But of course, Siwoo, I mean, he continues to be maybe the hottest ball striker on the planet. He gained over 13 shots from tee to green over 4 days in Scottsdale. He's finished inside the top 15 here at Pebble each of the last 2 starts and logged a T4 here in 2019. So, of course, recent form metrics going to love Siwoo. But I know Matt mentioned the sticker shock of him at 22-1 last week, and now he's virtually the same number in an elevated field. So, Matt, where do you kind of stand on Siwoo? Did he, show enough last week to maybe elevate him to a spot where you'd consider him at 25-1 in this field, or have you, still kind of maintained the same opinion?
Yeah, I think there's an interesting case for him. Obviously, he's hitting the ball great. He's been in the mix, every event to start this year. It's still kind of tough to see him at that number, but this is kind of a course that really fits his game well, sort of a positional course. The way he's hitting it, this is sort of, typical event where he would thrive at. I do find it a little bit interesting. And you probably followed him a lot closer than me from statistically last week because I wasn't on him. I was just kind of watching, but from what I saw, and I obviously followed him pretty close at the Amex when I had him, it kind of seemed like he didn't really make the putts that he had to make on Sunday, and it's sort of been this weird thing with Siwoo where he used to be like a much more volatile player where he would either miss the cut or he would almost pop up and win. Like it was like when he was in the mix, he would close it out, and that's where he got these wins, or he would just play poorly. Now he's become a lot more consistent, but it seems like he's not closing as well. And maybe some of that's just because it's tough to win a golf tournament. And the more that you're in, you're just going to seem like you're not as good of a closer because it's impossible to win all of them. But it just seems like he hasn't really performed that well on Sunday, at least in those 2 tournaments when he's kind of been in the mix with a shot to win.
For sure. And I think he's mentioned that, like, I mean, he was like legitimately intimidated by Scotty Scheffler on that Sunday at Amex. I think the exact quote was something like he's just so far above me. Like, it feels like, there's nothing I can really do. Which if you look at the top 5 odds again this week, like it's pretty likely that Scotty's going to be there again. So maybe that mental block. I was hoping that Scotty would just stay farther down the leaderboard yesterday, where like Siwoo wouldn't hear the footsteps. Maybe he saw Scheffler on the leaderboard walking off 12 and seized up because he missed that shorty on 13, and then that was pretty much that. He was chasing the rest of the time. Of course, hit it right in the front of the green on 17, and then de-greened it with a chip or de-greened it with a putt. Ended up making par there when a 2 putt could have got him in the playoff. But yeah, I tend to agree. I just think there are too many guys here that have course history and maybe a longer term like elite baseline with their ball striking, where I think there's so many options here that I can afford to sleep at night and miss out on a 25-1 Siwoo Kim if he does end up winning here. So yeah, gave it a shot last week. I love Siwoo. I think he's, I hope he continues to play really well. I mean, right now he's the 7th best golfer in the world per data golf. So that's awesome. I mean, to see a guy that I think for the last 2 or 3 years, probably somewhere in the 30 to 50 range, to make this kind of abrupt of a leap at 30 years old is really impressive. And he's playing amazing. But yeah, I'm more partial to the next 3 to 4 names that we're going to be going over here. First of which, Victor Hovland. 28 to 1, I believe, is the best number I see. I think you can find a 30 to 1 actually on some offshore sites. But again, Hovland, obvious history here at Pebble Beach, U.S. Am champ back in 2018. Followed that up, of course, with his not his professional debut, but the first time a lot of us saw him was the 2019 U.S. Open, where he played with Brooks and Molinari, who were both top players in the world at that time. Finished T12 at the U.S. Open. Actually led the field in ball striking that week too around Pebble Beach. But since 7 years ago, he hasn't really been able to replicate that success to date here at Pebble Beach, at least. His best finish in 4 starts since that U.S. Open is T13. So his start here as an amateur remains his best ever finish at Pebble Beach. But again, recent form does continue to trend. He logged a 6th top 15 finish in 7 starts, dating back to last year's playoffs in Scottsdale at the Waste Management. But again, on many odds boards now, he's listed as the 4th name after Scotty, Rory, Siwoo. So I'll defer to you. You probably watched everything or tracked everything he did at Scottsdale last week. Does he have any consideration for you here at 28 to 1?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's interesting. The tough thing about a guy like Hovland is, and we kind of spoke on this last week with Cam Young, where like once you get on the train, and ironically, Cam Young was bad enough where I don't want to bet him again. But with Hovland, I mean, it's one of those things where now I feel like I'm going to keep chasing it because he's close, because he is such a good player. But he hit it really well. He hit it really well last week on approach. He putted pretty well. He just wasn't really that good off the tee. He didn't put himself in good enough position off the tee enough. Now, this week, when we talk about you're going to be clubbing down a lot, that should, improve the accuracy on a lot of these holes. I thought he, hit his irons really well. So, I mean, I do like him again this week. I think he had a good showing at the Waste Management last week, or I guess the Phoenix Open now. And he played well in Dubai leading into that. That was the first time we saw him stateside. So there was a lot to like. I think he's pretty live this week. I mean, you kind of touched on it. He won the U.S. Amateur there. He played well in that U.S. Open. He hasn't really had the best finishes at Pebble since, but we kind of had a similar conversation last week where he hadn't had the best finishes in Scottsdale. And, he had a legitimate, shot there on Sunday last week. So I think he's good enough where we don't have to put too much emphasis on the recent course history. He has proven that he could play well there, but I think there's a lot to like about him this week.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's also interesting to see Vic's profile. He's actually gained strokes around the greens in his last 7 starts, which I think, it's not a coincidence that coincides with finishes of T7, 12th, T5, T6, T23rd, T14, T10. So if Vic's not a disaster around the greens, all of a sudden his baseline just drastically heightens because he doesn't have just that leaking faucet of losing strokes every week around the greens. So, of course. I mean, I like Vic a lot. I kind of share your sentiment where, man, I wish he was maybe 35 to 1. I think that would probably be the magic number for me. John says he's 30 to 1 on the score bet, which we appreciate. If you guys ever see odds that exceed what we're talking about, please let everyone know. I know Chris is a big Vic guy, so I don't think it takes a tough sell this week. I really don't. I think Victor, big things are coming for Vic. He's come a long way since kind of the struggles through a lot of 2024 and 2025. He's trending in a really, really positive direction. So he's definitely a consideration for me. I know you've made it click kind of further up the board. I've only made one that's pretty obvious to most of the audience at this point. But Victor, it sounds like has not quite gotten there for you.
I haven't taken it yet. I still might. The problem with it is I took him last week. I'm going to take him this week. He doesn't win this week, but he plays well. We have Riviera coming up, which he's a good fit at. I just kind of feel like I'm Hill. I just feel like I'm going to get on this train where he's going to be on my card every week, under 30 to 1 until he gets one. And it's a dangerous game to play, but
he's playing well, though.
It makes a lot of sense, and he had a pretty strong showing last week leading into this. So,
I think there are worse.
I would hate to jump off and have him win.
Yeah, there are worse names to attach yourself to. I think going forward, I could see Victor winning pretty soon. But yeah, let's move into some other options here. 28 to 1. Let's pair the two Englishmen because this is frankly the biggest decision point I've got right now on the top of the odds board. Tommy, of course, we're talking about Tommy Fleetwood and Justin Rose both at 28-1 cross market pretty much. Yeah, I mean, it's two different schools of thought, right? You have Rose, who's like the perfect Pebble Beach profile. He's 7 career starts here. He has a win, 2/3, a 6th, and 11th. And then you hit that up against the consensus third best player in the world right now, probably is Tommy Fleetwood, who's priced at, again, 30-1 at most shops. Full disclosure, I ranked Rose ahead of Tommy in my weekly power rankings. I had Rose 3rd and Tommy 4th. But I kind of did so with the anticipation that I wouldn't have to make this decision like head-to-head on odds boards. I thought Tommy would be kind of the 20-22-1 range, and we get Rose like at 30-1. But now that it's kind of 1v1, like, you're not really, there's no opportunity cost in passing over one for the other. I'm having kind of a lot of trouble deciphering like Tommy's prolonged statistical run. Like he's number 2 on my model this week, versus Rose. Again, his course history is immaculate here. And of course, the last time we saw him, he just won by 7 shots in La Jolla. So is this one of the guys that you've either bet or considered? Rose, Fleetwood, do you have a lean for me and can help me out with this?
I haven't taken either. I do think Rose is, I mean, he's interesting. It's always like, I'm always just hesitant to take someone off of a win, but
yeah,
that logic, I mean, look at what it did to us with Gotterup.
Yeah,
he kind of proved he won 2 out of 3 or 4 starts, whatever it was. So he kind of took away that point, and Rose has played so well here. He's coming off such a good performance. I think there's a lot to like about him this week. Fleetwood's interesting. We haven't seen him stateside yet, so he was 6th in Abu Dhabi, and you know what? Hold on a second. No, he
was like outside the top.
He was 25th in Dubai. I'm on the wrong page, and 41st in Dubai Desert Classic. Right. So not playing the best coming into this, and we haven't seen him here yet. I mean, I think maybe this is an opportunity to pass on him and kind of wait to take him at one of the other events coming up.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a lot of the number. Like it's the whole like mental trick that gets played on you where you think a guy's gonna be 20-1 and then you look at him on Monday morning, he's 28-1, and you're like, shoot. But I think if you gave me Truth Serum, who I think is more likely to win a contend this week, I think Rose is more likely to. But yeah, it's tough when Tommy literally put together like a 6-month stretch where he was the second best player in the world, just Scotty Scheffler, back half of 2025. So it wouldn't surprise me at all. I mean, obviously, like on paper, he fits this course really well. He's never had a result here that would like match one of the 5 that Rose has inside the top 11. But like positional golf course, second shot, short game putting. I mean, he's actually a pretty good Poana putter. I mentioned that in my article. I don't have the exact stats in front of me, but yeah, he does have some success on the West Coast on the greens. But yeah, I would probably lean more towards Rose than Fleetwood. I think that's the decision I've come to as well. Okay, so we still haven't found your first click. I was expecting that to be, I was expecting to be either Rose or Fleetwood, quite frankly. So we move on to Xander and Henley are the next 2 that we're gonna talk in depth about. After that, we'll kind of spread it out and be more open mic. But Xander, again, decent. I mean, an improvement in Phoenix. He gained over 4 shots ball striking over those 4 rounds in Phoenix. Not the best finish for the week, but at least showed a bit more life than he did at Torrey Pines over those 2 days with a missed cut. Did end his week as well with a 6 under 65, the 4th best round of the day. So coming in with some momentum. And of course, we're talking about Xander Schauffele, who maybe a lot of people would consider a top 5 player in the world heading into the year. Now he's 35-1 even in some spots at Pebble Beach. Not a ton of course history here to his name. Did come 3rd at the 2019 U.S. Open, that we mentioned earlier. And again, I think a lot of the arguments to be made about Xander just come down to the number. Like if you just think this number's too big for a West Coast guy on a Poana greens at Pebble Beach. But yeah, 31 on Xander. And then Henley, again, similar number. Not a name we typically talk about outside of Hawaii and the Southeast, but he did record the best putting week of his entire season here last year. He gained 7.5 strokes putting here at Pebble Beach. The rest of his game, of course, easily can fit Pebble Beach, positional, wedge intensive. And he did finish top 5 here again a year ago. So he's third on tour right now on approach. He's gained over a stroke per round over his first 2 starts of 2026 with his iron play. So form is trending. Do you have a lean between these two or any interest at all?
I would lean Henley probably over Xander. It's tough because Henley, I mean, he did get the big win with the API, but I always kind of consider him as a guy that doesn't really close all that well, but he is hitting it really well. He makes a ton of sense here. He looked pretty good at the Amex last time we saw him. I think he was like T8 there. So I think there's a case to be made for both guys. I mean, Xander's starting to drift to that number that makes him pretty intriguing when you consider kind of just where he is as a player. I mean, he's just 2 years removed from winning 2 majors. So obviously he's, when he's on, he's one of the best in the world. So I think he's started to drift to a number that's getting tougher to ignore. I haven't clicked either of them, but I think there's a pretty strong case to be made for both.
I agree. I like the fact that he straightened out the off the tee as well. At Torrey Pines, he hit 27% of his fairways. And I thought that could be real trouble for him around Phoenix. We saw the kind of trouble Hideki got himself in missing fairways, but actually his driver was the best asset he had all week going into Scottsdale. So I think the pieces are starting to come together for Xander. If his driver straightens out, I trust his irons long term. Of course, his short game's always been very, very solid as well. So again, I'm kind of with you. I don't think this is the week, but it's intriguing to have the conversation at 30-1 this early in the season because we're about to head some stops, Riviera, Bay Hill, Sawgrass, where I think he makes a lot of sense at all 3 of those. So if he can continue this trajectory, I like him a lot. But yeah, for this week, I think Henley's probably the better bet. All right. Any further thoughts like these 30-1 and under? I honestly am stunned that neither of us have a click in this range, but I think we kind of sorted through it.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of intriguing plays that we've talked through. I think there's a decent chance I end up on one of them, and I'm probably going to fall into that hole again if I do it. But I think there's kind of a lot to like moving down the board here further. So I think it's going to be interesting as we talk through it. I think there's kind of a lot of guys to like in this kind of next range or two.
Absolutely. All right, yeah, we're going to start doing again more open mic Socratic seminar sort of thing when we get to these ranges. We don't have I don't have strong takes on every single guy from 30 to 40-1. So we'll start here. 32-1 is the best number that can be found on Hideki Matsuyama coming to Pebble Beach, looking to turn his fortunes around with a driver. Maybe a nice venue to do it at a golf course where you don't really have to hit a lot of off the tee shots there. 32-1. Chris Goddard, 33-1, the 5th best player in the world, the hottest player on the planet currently walking. I've seen some Goddard love early in the week as well. So I know he was 40-1 in some spots. He's drifted all the way down to 33-1 as we sit here Monday night. Matt Fitzpatrick, my guy last week, that's ejected on Sunday, kind of predictably, 34-1 there. Matt McNeely, Pebble Beach's finest, 35-1. Doesn't his family own property on Pebble Beach? Is that what I heard?
That might be right. It makes sense. I know he has a ton of money. His family does, so I would believe it.
35-1, Matt McNeely. Cam Young, our guy last week, 35-1 here at Pebble Beach. Jake Knapp, 38-1. Robert McIntyre, 40-1. We'll stop there. We'll go Matsuyama, Goddard, Fitzpatrick, McNeely, Cam Young, Jake Knapp, Bobby Mack. Do you have any leans in this range? Any favorites, or is this just go ahead and pass to the next?
I'm gonna pass for now. I think I didn't take him last week, so I might have a different view. I'm starting to get a little bit more interested in Fitz as time goes on. We've kind of talked about it going into, the last couple shows, how he played really well at the end of last year. He's starting to hit it well. I know you probably tracked him a lot closer than me last week. I didn't really pay too much attention to him besides just seeing his name float around the leaderboard. I know he got off to a really hot start. I think he was like 7 under through 9 holes. So maybe kind of what happened after that might have not been as hot, but I don't know where the breakdown was on that.
Yeah, the problem I have with Fitzy is I always like him a lot better on longer golf courses. Number one, difficult score conditions I think suit Fitzy as well. When you have to scramble a lot and save pars. Long iron play is typically his biggest weapon from a ball striking perspective, as well as his driver. So I think Pebble Beach takes a lot of the typical strengths you see from Fitzpatrick out of his game. And yeah, I think I'd like him a little bit better if the wind was kicking up and maybe it turned into a bit more of a scrambling fest. But as we presently sit here on Monday, we don't really see anything like remotely close to like a red flag win kind of forecast. So I think this winning score is going to be like close to 20 under. And in that case, I really wouldn't really favor Fitzpatrick. Also, he hit a lot of really poor wedge shots down the stretch on Saturday and Sunday. Maybe I'm just jaded because I saw a 45-1 ticket like burn to ashes in front of my face. Because I mean, he birdied 15 on Saturday, and he was tied for the lead, and then immediately made double on 16, and then bogey on 18 with wedges like from the fairway. So, yeah, I'm gonna take a break from Fitzy. I think Florida, I might jump back on if ball strike and splits stay solid, but yeah, not this week. I'm kind of with you though. I don't like anybody in this range. Like Matsuyama, Goddard, Fitzpatrick, McNeely. I guess if I had to choose one, it'd probably be Mav, but I don't want to bet him to win. I'd bet him like top 10 or maybe a DFS or something like that. But yeah, I think we can move to the next range with a clear conscience because I do have some interest kind of starting in the 40s. Starting with this first name, I want to get your thoughts because I think he's one of the most interesting players on the board. Ludwig Oberg comes in 40-1 is the best price in market. I see it at Caesars there. Michael Thorbjornsen 40-1 as well. Ben Griffin 40-1. Patrick Cantley 40-1. Jason Day 46-1. Looks like the best price is there on Jason Day. We'll stop there. Ludwig, Thorbjornsen, Griffin, Cantley, Day. I have a lot of interest in this range. This is the first range where I haven't made a move, but I anticipate betting at least one of these guys.
Yeah, I think I could make a case for having interest in like three of the guys you just named. I have bet Jason Day.
Okay.
I think that he's playing. I mean, he's played really well at the Amex. He hit it pretty well at Torrey Pines. I think he's hitting it really well coming in. This is sort of a Jason Day course. You had talked about it going into, I guess it was the Amex episode where you said that, there's kind of limited options for Day to win the style of course that's going to allow him to win a golf tournament. This was one of the ones we named that he could win on. I think he's playing really well right now. It makes a lot of sense. I hope he gets one across the finish line. Seems like he's had a pretty strong 2 years for the most part, and I'd like to see him back in the winner's circle. I think this is definitely a fair enough number and a course that he could do it at. Yeah,
you're pulling my heartstrings. I mean, this is definitely one of the ones that I'm considering. 45-1 right now on DraftKings. Yeah, I mean, I was down on him at Torrey Pines, despite like an extensive course history track record. But again, we're back now, like you mentioned, short, wedge intensive setup, similar to the one he just, he's come second and third at the Amex the last 2 years. And of course, like if you want to kind of like get the discount Justin Rose in terms of like the course history and the profile, older guy, the wily vet, 16 starts here at Pebble Beach, 9 finishes of 7th or better, only 2 finishes outside the top 25 in his career. He actually recorded 2 6th place finishes 16 years apart. He finished 6th in 2008 and then in 2024, which is a crazy stat. To be honest, 16 years in golf is an eternity. But again, still as reliable as they come inside 100 yards when you count for both his approach play in a short game. And his biggest statistical award is his off the tee game, which again, we've said is going to be, I think, largely mitigated on the setup. So yeah, I think he was third in our model, the show model. Yeah, he was third.
Yeah, he was third or fourth, I think. Yeah.
So yeah, of course, great Poana track record. The wedge play is amazing. He's playing well. I mean, even though I didn't really love him at Torrey Pines, he still finished T38, had a really good iron week that week. So definitely some positive vibes and in consideration for me. I think a lot of it will depend on what I end up doing with the 2 names I'm going to bring up, which are Ludwig and Patrick Cantley. I think I'm going to have to cut at least one of these 3 guys, but they are all in pretty deep consideration for me. Cantley, of course, Pebble checks every box I want when I'm looking at Patrick Cantley, like short course, West Coast, Poana Greens. He's got a great record already around here. 5 finishes of 11th or better in 9 starts. Rates out as a top 5 wedge player in this field as well over the last 12 months. I mean, Cantley statistically is perfect. His floor case, I think, is as rock solid as anybody in this range. The only problem I have is this is not the first time I've liked Patrick Cantley at Pebble Beach, and I've unfortunately been on the wrong side of when he's been in contention against Tom Hoagie, Bo Hostler, and Troy Merritt, and not come out on top. So now I've got to wrestle the fact that I'm going to be sitting here with a 45-1 Cantley ticket, but he's up against Scotty Scheffler and Rory McIlroy, and he's got absolutely no chance. So again, part of me like really, I think it's clear value at 40-1, but it also feels like the biggest like honey trap on the planet. Like it's just like begging for a T8 where he just shoots even par on Sunday.
Yeah, he was one of the three that I was considering in this range when we mentioned them. When you mentioned him to start, he's been really good around here. You're now getting a pretty good price on him at this course. We don't typically see him around this number at this event.
Yeah.
I guess he's hit it pretty well. It's just he putted really bad at Torrey. Mm-hmm. When he missed the cut. So he's coming off the missed cut, but I mean, he hit his approach pretty well, and he's been decent off the tee. So he's interesting. I mean, I think it's a good course for him, and you're kind of catching him at as good of a number as you're going to see Cantlay at. Yeah. He hasn't really, I mean, he hasn't won in a while.
When was his last win, actually? Was it BMW in 22? Was that the last time he won?
It feels like it's been a while. I actually don't know when his last one was.
He won back-to-back BMWs, and he hasn't won since. Yeah, that's it.
So it's a little bit concerning that he's not getting them across the finish line. Maybe this is a number he kind of deserves to be at. Yeah, 2022. Yeah, John's got to say. So, yeah, it's been a while. So, I mean, I guess when you look at it that way, maybe the number's not that great, but he does fit this course well.
Yeah. This is the problem I'm having here because I see blind value with my numbers, but I can't get to the point where like I'm gonna have faith in Cantlay to win, which I think at a certain point you kind of disregard that, but I don't know if 40-1 is quite cheap enough to be like, it's like if he was like 60-1. I'd be like, I'll take the risk, and it's likely going to end with a near miss. But I think so Cantlay, I think we're on the same page with. Let's talk about Ludwig.
Really interesting.
As I sit here on Monday, 8:23 Eastern, I can access a 50-1 on Ludwig. Now, unlike the rest of the names that we've talked about probably to this point, the case for Ludwig really isn't about like recent form or long-term statistical markers. He honestly doesn't even rate out particularly well for me. I mean, in the model we built, let's just check what Ludwig, he ranks 40th in the model that we built. So like he's not exactly like, the prototypical like Jason Day, Justin Rose type of course fit for Pebble Beach. But the fact remains that we can get 50-1 on a player that many would have considered a top 5 or 6 player on the planet, like coming into the year. And if you just rewind 12 months ago, right, a lot of people would have written off Oberg after he kind of choked down the stretch, after he held the first round lead at Mers, came down with the illness where he lost like 10 pounds in 3 days, ended up finishing like T40, and then withdrew the next week over Pebble Beach. The next start he made after that, he won at Torrey Pines at the Genesis Invitational, which is his best career win to date. And of course, his incoming form this year to Pebble Beach, very similar. Withdrew at the Amex with illness and then missed the cut pretty badly at Torrey Pines. Of course, he finished T2 here in 2024 to Wyndham Clark. A start that could easily be like a first place if they didn't cancel the final round. I think he was probably the favorite live going into the final round, even though Wyndham just got shot the course record on Saturday. But yeah, I think just for peace of mind, I have to bet the 50-1 because like I can't sit there on like Saturday morning with Ludwig like in the top 5, knowing that I had like that available to me, because like there's no doubt what the upside is. The upside is he can win the golf tournament. And I don't really care what the floor case is in this market. Like if he comes out there and shoots 74 on Thursday and is out of the tournament, then so be it. Like it's 50-1, I'll live with it. But I think that the upside is just tremendous.
Yeah, I mean, I think to your point, I mean, I think it's a big over adjustment based off really one tournament. I mean, he went into Torrey Pines. He was going off at what, like 18-1 or 20-1. I mean, I think he was like the second guy on the board there or something. So yeah, he played really bad there, but it's really only one tournament. He was coming off the withdrawal at the Amex. who knows, not to make excuses for him, but what kind of condition he was in that week. If he was sick or something, it could have just been a fluke week for him. I just think the number, it's getting to a point where you almost can't ignore it. To your point, he did come second here, and the year that Wyndham won when they just canceled the final round. So who knows how that would have turned out. That was kind of a weird ending to that year too, where he legitimately, could have won that event. So it makes a lot of sense. I mean, he's coming off one bad week, but he's one of the best players in the world, from a talent perspective, and it's getting to a number where we might just kind of have to do it.
Yep.
I mean, I wouldn't have ever thought 2-3 weeks ago that we'd be getting him at a better number than Jake Knapp or Michael Thorbjornsen, like Matt McNeely. I know McNeely's been good around here, but it just kind of seems crazy that he's fallen to that range. And to your point, if he wins, we're all going to say, oh my God, how stupid were we not to take him at that number?
Yeah. And a lot. And I mean, again, last year, Torrey Pines, I think you could have found like 30, 35 to 1 at Torrey Pines last year, when 2 weeks earlier he was like the favorite to win Torrey Pines. I know, because I bet him at the Farmers and then didn't bet him at the Genesis before he ended up winning. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those cases where I understand why the odds have to be like this, because like the top 5 probabilities, the top 10 probabilities are higher for a guy like McNeely or Knapp or some of these hotter prospects, like these guys that are playing better. But if you're just talking like strictly outright win, I think Ludwig has as much upside as anyone in this range. So, all right, he will be on my card. 50 to 1. You can book that. That's my second click of the week. So, for those of y'all that have access to Bookmaker, he is there right now, available for you. So let's move on into the next range here. Past 40 to 1, we move into the 50s. Harris English comes in 55 to 1. JJ Spawn 60 to 1. Sepp Straka 65 to 1. Shane Lowry 65 to 1. Last year's runner-up. Daniel Berger 65 to 1. Colin Morikawa 65 to 1. And Ryan Gerard 65 to 1. So English, Spawn, Sepp, Lowry, Berger, Morikawa, Gerard, all between 55 and 65 to 1. Again, another range I am very, very tapped into. So want to get your thoughts, just preliminary, on who you're looking at in this range, if anybody.
Yeah, I haven't clicked anyone. I think there's a couple interesting names here. A couple guys that could maybe be talked into. I mean, you touched on it, Lowry, second last year. I know you're big on Morikawa. That's kind of another one that's sort of getting to a bit of a ridiculous number where you almost just have to do it because of, the talent level there. I haven't done it yet, but it is kind of crazy seeing him at this number, especially in, a smaller field event. It feels weird. I mean, we have been used to seeing him at like 30 to 1 at majors. Now he's, double that in an 80-man field. It's very intriguing, and I'm not even like typically the biggest Morikawa guy, but it's getting to a number where it's getting very interesting. And Berger is one that's, I think he's a good fit here. I mean, he's won here.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the win kind of put him at this number. He seems like he's been bet down a little bit. He's kind of seems to be a little bit popular this week. I don't know if I'm going to get there on him, but I think he's a good fit for the course.
Okay. So if you had to rank order, like top 3 in this range, it sounds like Berger's number 1 for you, or Morikawa?
It's interesting. I think that Berger is. It's interesting. I guess I would go Berger 1, Morikawa 2, but I think that Morikawa obviously has a much higher upside than Daniel Berger. 2-time major champion. Neither of them have really won a ton recently. So I would go Berger, I guess, but I think Morikawa makes a lot of sense too. I can't tell if it's my screen that's frozen or Ian's. Someone in the comments want to help out who's frozen?
in 2021. Has 2 additional top 10s over 3 careers. Oh, Matt, you with me?
Yeah, did I just hop out of there for a second?
You might know. I can't really tell if maybe I'm the problem or you are, but I'm just talking about Burger. Did you hear any of the things that I was saying about Daniel?
No, I didn't catch any of it. I tuned out. I was talking and then I went out of the screen froze on me.
Oh, it says Ian's frozen. So, okay.
Okay, yeah, I didn't know who was frozen. I was going on a little bit of a rant too about both of them.
Okay, my bad. So, one second. Who was your top 3 in this range?
I had Burger listed as 1 and Morikawa 2, but I think it's interesting because I think they have sort of a similar case. I mean, neither of them has won too much recently, but I think Burger's a good fit for the course. He's, I guess, playing maybe a little bit more consistently from a finish standpoint, but I think Morikawa obviously has the higher ceiling. I mean, he's a 2-time major winner, and Burger, the upside is not really there. I mean, even the events that he's sort of won in the last couple of years, I guess Charles Schwab was a better field, but it kind of seems like he won at Pebble Beach with a weaker field. I don't know if I like him a lot, but I don't know if he's really capable of beating all these top guys. We haven't seen him do it. So that's my hesitation with Burger in an event like this.
That's actually a very fair case. And that's actually a good enough point to where I think I would drop him down below Straka and Morikawa, because those are my 3 guys in this range. Now, Burger did lead the field in approach last week. He gained almost 6 shots over 4 days at Scottsdale. Of course, you talked about the win. He's got 2 additional top 10s here over 3 career starts prior to that victory. So Burger obviously fits the course well, but I think your case is actually quite well founded. I mean, we were betting him at very similar prices to the MX like 2 weeks ago. So yeah, I think maybe the past winners premium is it's overinflated his price maybe a bit too much. If I'm just give me a thumbs up in the chat, please, if everything is sorted out in terms of me being.
I think you're good now. I can hear you fine.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I'll probably of the 3, I'd probably put Burger last. I'll talk about Straka real quick because I do think he does carry some merit this week. Of course, we were both on him last week. Didn't really give us the outright sweat with it we wanted, but he did still gain 8.5 shots from tee to green in an 18th place finish around Scottsdale. And now we arrive, I think, at a golf course that suits him a lot better in Pebble Beach. Of course, he held the 54-hole lead. Thank you, Chris. He held the 54-hole lead here a year ago. And the profile is, again, like super compelling. 3 of his 4 wins in his career have come on similarly like kind of wedge heavy layouts. Amex, John Deere, the Truist that you went to last year at Philly Cricket was very kind of wedge intensive, a lot of shots inside 150 yards. So we got the signs of life we needed with the ball striking. Yeah, of course it has to happen when Colin comes up. They're trying to silence me from books are trying to silence me from giving the call more take. But yeah, I think Straka is actually, I mean, he's a guy that has won he won an LA event at the Truist last year. I mean, he was very much a contention here at Pebble Beach. So I know he opened at like 70, 75 to 1, but I still actually quite like the 65. So I might very well end up on him by week's end. To Colin. And Chris brought up a tweet that I actually did send from my laptop on, I believe it was Friday, of the Waste Management. I'll go back and give you the full rundown. Let's see here. Where was it? Okay, well, I can't find it, but yeah, it was something to the effect of, any future bet I have in Colin Morikawa is just as a product of blind faith, which I think is kind of true because at the end of the day, it's been over 2.5 years since he's won. And I mean, the start of 2026 hasn't exactly been like, very encouraging if you're a Colin Morikawa backer. It's purely on number. Like if Colin Morikawa was 40 to 1 this field, I really wouldn't have a ton of interest. But we're getting, I just checked it as I was frozen there for a few minutes. He is still 75 to 1 on the score bet. Which I have clicked. That is him and Ludwig are the 2 moves I've actually made to this point. But again, like Colin, it's been 2 starts. I mean, he's missed the cut and he's come like T50. He's gained strokes ball striking each of the 2 starts, so at least he's not completely lost his biggest strengths. But looking long term, he still rates out for me as a top 2 wedge player in this field. He's actually the second best wedge player after Scotty Scheffler. And we're in California, of course, home state, SoCal kid. And the Poana greens have actually been maybe the only, like when he putts on Poana, it's like the only time all year we can actually project him to putt well. Last 7 starts, he's gained strokes putting in 5 between Pebble Beach, Riviera, and Torrey. And of course, he actually has some course history to fall back on. Last week I was very close, or not very close, but I was like considering 50-1 on him last week at Phoenix. But a lot of that was kind of wish casting. He'd never really shown it at that venue. At least here at Pebble Beach, he's got finishes of 17th and 14th each of the last 2 years. Gained off the tee, gained on approach, gained around the greens in each of those 2 starts here as well. So, I think like shorter positional wedge intensive, that's like the kind of golf course that I want Colin Morikawa at right now. We've seen it with his success at places like the Century. He played really well at the Truist there for a time last week, which I consider a pretty solid comp in terms of like approach proximity splits. Rocket Mortgage, he gained over 8 shots in approach that week on a very wedge intensive golf course. A little bit of Poana, even though it's East Coast. Poana there in Detroit, but I think there's enough markers long term to take a shot at 75-1. Again, would it surprise me if he just doesn't show up? Like, the first 2 weeks of the season haven't given us a lot to like in terms of the trajectory going forward. But I think this is a venue where he can pretty easily turn it around. So yeah, again, the numbers it's gone too far for a player that's won 5 times on the PGA Tour, including 2 majors. So
yeah, I mean, I think he's getting to the point where it's a fair case to make for him. I'm considering him. I am. He's good enough where it's crazy to see him at this number. Honestly, I didn't think that we would get here.
No, I mean he's legitimately, like, I considered him as a player in my power rankings. Like I do think Pebble Beach is that good of a fit for him. So I will admit that if he doesn't like show up at Pebble or Riv, like there's some legit like alarm bells need to be going off in my head. But I'm willing to kind of embrace the cognitive dissonance for another week and go into battle with a 75-1 Norcott.
Just think about the numbers you'll get at the majors for him if he doesn't play well this week and next.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, it's just gonna be a bit for me. I'm just gonna bet him. Like, if he's the same price in the Masters, like, I'll just unload. Like, I mean, it's again, like anyone that's tuning in for the first time, like, this is my favorite player on tour. So you have to allow me a bit of bias here, but yeah, I do. I mean, it's not just me. My numbers actually do like Colin this week. So, all right, that's enough. That's enough of the therapy session. For Colin Morikawa. I did want to actually talk about Gerard as well, who's 66, 70, 65, 71 in a lot of spots. I think if Jason Day was like the discount Justin Rose this week, Gerard may well be like the discount Siwoo Kim. We didn't see him last week at Phoenix, but he has started the season second, 11th to start his 26 campaign. He notably putted extremely well on the Poana greens at Torrey Pines. He gained 4.1 shots, putting in 3 rounds on the South course. The ball striking just continues to impress, and he has already won in California. His one career PGA Tour win did come at the Barracuda, albeit in a alternate field event there in around Lake Tahoe. But again, a 70-1, I think there is some merit there. You're talking about we've talked a lot about guys like, Berger and Cantley, who we have enough of a data set to understand that maybe they're not as viable going up against the top names, but Gerard kind of comes with that unknown, and he is, obviously playing really, really good golf right now. So I think 70-1, there's enough signs there to at least put him in consideration this week.
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about him a couple of weeks ago, how well he was playing, and he was like at like 35 or 40-1, whatever it was, and we were saying, the number's too low, but now you're getting a pretty decent number on him. Yeah. I guess the decision really is if you think that he could win in a field like this, but that when you get kind of to this number on the board, might be worth taking a chance.
Yeah, I mean, there's gonna be question marks with everybody in this odds range. It's either gonna be like an out of form top name, or it's gonna be like a guy that's in form who hasn't really proven their merit on this level. So I'll take the unknown in Gerard, I think. But yeah, I still like Strauch and Morikawa maybe slightly better, but I do think there's merit in his price right now. All right, kind of reaching the end of the rope, it seems, in terms of like guys that I actually have a lot of belief that can win. But I'll see what Matt kind of thinks here. 70-1. We'll start here with Pearson Coody, who, again, a very similar case to Gerard, in form, young player, who hasn't quite proven it at this level, but certainly has a ton of talent. Coody 70-1 across the board pretty much. Minwoo Lee, also 70-1. Akshay Bhatia 70-1. Ricky Fowler 70-1. Sam Burns 70-1, who I think if you just go based on model was absolutely the best value. He's somehow fourth in all modeling this week on the show. But 70-1 on the odds board. Did not have a good week at Phoenix, though. I watched way too much of Sam Burns last week. Kurt Kitayama, our guy last week, 74-1. Taylor Pendrith, 75-1. And we'll end it off with Harry Hull. That's Matt's boy there, 80-1. So Coody, Bhatia, Minwoo, Fowler, Burns, Kitayama, Pendrith, Hall. Again, not expecting to have a strong takes on everyone in this range, but does anyone stick out from 70 to 81?
I've taken Sam Burns.
Okay.
I haven't taken him yet this year. I'm not typically like a Burns guy. I just kind of thought the number was pretty nuts. He's 22nd and 10th here the last 2 years. It's kind of weird. I mean, he played okay at the Amex. I think he was disappointing considering like a lot of people thought he was going to win, and he was 27th. He didn't putt particularly well that week, but he hit it all right on approach and off the tee. And he was bad last week, but I think it's almost like a Ludwig situation where there was just like a big over adjustment off of one bad week. I wouldn't even say that he was bad at the Amex. I would just say he wasn't great, anything special. But I mean, a lot of people liked him last week. I didn't take him, but a lot of people liked him last week around like 25-1 in Phoenix. I think now he's down at 70. He's obviously, a multi-time winner on the PGA Tour. He's, proven that he can win events. He hasn't really putted well, I guess, the last 3 times we've seen him, which is typically his strength. So maybe that's concerning. But I just think that there's enough there with him at this number to warrant taking a shot.
No, I'm there. I'm there with you. I haven't bet it yet, but I mean, I think by the numbers, it makes a lot of sense. 70-1. If I'm going to say up here and say like Colin Morikawa is a huge value at 75, then I think you can make a equally strong case, if not a better case, that Burns. I think I've always liked Burns. I mean, I've always liked Burns on golf courses that don't really necessarily ask him to do a lot from tee to green. Like that's why I liked him at the Amex, a golf course where you just hit a ton of wedges to 15 feet and hope to make the most birdie putts. So, it wouldn't surprise me at all to see him contend here. Actually has a pretty good Poana track record, even though it's not his beloved Bermuda grass. But, I remember one of his first coming out parties was when he contended at Riviera, the year I think Homa won. And of course, he's got a couple of nice starts here, 10th place a couple of years ago, right here at Pebble Beach. So, I think that makes a lot of sense. I like, I'll get to Harry Hall in a bit, as John's asked us about our thoughts on Harry. I actually like Akshay quite a bit. I preemptively called my shot on him for Riviera, which I'm actually very bullish now. I can almost lock that in the bank. You can bet I'll be on Akshay next week at Riv, but I think it's pretty difficult to also make a case against him here at Pebble Beach either. He gained over 6 shots ball striking, of course, last week at the Waste Management, which quelled a lot of concerns we had coming into the week where he had not really started 2026 off very well. But yeah, kind of quelled those thoughts, and he's putted really, really well here in 2 career starts at Pebble Beach. He's getting 3.5 and 2.9 shots on the greens in 2025 and 2021, respectively. Historically, not as good with his wedges as he is with his mid irons. That's why I think I like him a bit better next week. But he still sits at or above the 80th percentile in strokes gained per shot, proximity, and good shot percentage over his last 2 years from 100 to 150. So the iron play is still really solid. And if he actually, he's a California kid originally, even though he grew up in North Carolina. The putting splits are really, really kind of what draws me to Akshay this week. So Poana Greens coming off a nice start at Phoenix. I think he's a guy that, again, 23, 24 years old, I expect him to be in the 35-40-1 range in these kind of fields before long. I think he's that talented. So, Akshay did warrant some consideration from me. That would be my favorite play, I think, in this range. Do you want to take the Harry Hall discussion? 80-1. I mean, I haven't bet Harry Hall, I think, in my entire life. So, do you is he on your radar whatsoever this week? He does rate our model. Just John mentioned, he popped the model 10th in our model, which it weighs putting a lot, so that's likely the reason why Harry Hall pops like he does. But yeah, 80-1.
Yeah, it's interesting. He kind of screwed me a little bit at the Amex there. I mean, he putted well. He didn't hit it well. It looks like he hit it really poorly last week in Phoenix on approach. I don't know if I'm going to get there on him in this kind of this type of field and this type of event. I mean, the number is deep enough. He is obviously a very strong putter. So, if it kind of comes down to that, I could see the case for him, but I don't know if I'm going to get there on him this week. I just kind of have a sour taste in my mouth from the last time I took him.
I think you're right, too, because I think the MX was like such a clear smash spot for Harry Hall, and he didn't really, again, live up to. He did finish T24 because he gained like 6 shots putting, but yeah, the problem is like when the ball strike, like in a field like this, when the ball striking isn't really at the level it needs to be, like he just relies so much on gaining so many strokes putting and chipping. It's the same reason why like I didn't like Jason Day at Torrey, or like I don't like a guy like Christian Bezadenhout week in, week out, just because like their ball striking ceiling is so much lower than everyone else that if they don't reach like a top 5 percentile outcome, it's just so hard for them to gain enough shots with their short game to actually contend for a win. Yeah, I mean, you look at like his putting stats last year were like, I think the best on tour. I think he was the best. Him and Sam Burns, I think, were the 2 best putters on tour last year, and he didn't have a finish inside the tops or better than 6th. So like that tells me that, like he's a guy that even when everything is firing in the most volatile stat category, he still hasn't been able to break through and like contend in one of these big events, like full field events. So I just think the ceiling is lower than maybe his spot in the model would indicate.
I think that's perfectly articulated. And like kind of the reason that I liked him at the Amex was sort of A, it's considered like a putting contest, but also B, it's an event that's a lot more like when you talk about winners, there's a big range of outcomes of guys that could win there. And he came in 24th. Like he didn't even really give himself a chance. Now in a signature event, to see him now breaking through and getting it done in this kind of field, I don't know. I don't think I can get there with him.
Yeah, I agree. Not saying there won't be a spot in the future where I wouldn't go back to Harry Hall, but yeah, the signature events I think are a bridge too far for him to really consider contending. All right, I'm going to open it up to you now, man. We're kind of past the 80-1 range, so we're into your long shot territory. Of course, Matt produces an article every single week on Rotoballer Tuesday night, Wednesday morning of his 3 to 5 favorite long shots from 100 to 1 or higher. So is there anyone you're eyeing kind of in that range preliminarily? Or I know you've got a lot of card. You've only bet, I think, Sam Burns and who else?
Yeah, I have Sam Burns and Day locked in. I think I'm going to get there on Ludwig now that we kind of talked it through. It just kind of feels like a spot where if I don't take him and he plays well, I'm going to just think how stupid
I'll take it on the chin when he shoots like 78 in round 1.
No, I mean, it makes a ton of sense. He's one of the most talented players in the world. To get him at this number, you almost have to do it. A couple guys deep, I guess, that somewhat intrigue me. I bring him up every week, so I might as well stay consistent on it. Wyndham Clark, what do you think of him this week? I mean, he obviously won here, sort of a fraudulent win 2 years ago. It was just canceled after the 3rd round, but this is kind of one of the courses I think we spoke about it at the Amex, where you said you liked him in sort of these courses that are like wedges into the green. This is the sort of event that you like him at. He's now deep on the board again. He's obviously proven that he could win big events in strong fields. The U.S. Open, he won at Quail Hollow. He almost won the Players. So he is a guy that sort of, if he's in the mix, you don't feel totally lost with him, and that's rare when you're this far down the board. So there's a little bit of intrigue there for me with Wyndham. I don't know if you've given him any thought or where you're at. I know you're not the biggest Wyndham guy typically, but this seems like it's kind of an event where maybe he has a stronger shot than other weeks.
No, he was on my short list for sure. Absolutely. He's 90 to 1, I think, is the best price I saw before I came on today. Of course, captured his last PGA Tour title here 2 years ago. And I think he's in better form than I think his number would suggest. Like, books are like super quick to just throw Wyndham like way down the odds board. But he did come T13, like you said, at Amex, which is a course fit we would like for him. And he finished T35 last week. He notably played the final 43 holes at 10 under par after a really bad start. Like he was, I think, 5 over par with like 6 holes to play or 7 holes to play on Friday afternoon, and then he fought back to make the cut and ended up in a really nice position by week's end. Now, admittedly, the wedge play has regressed a bit over the last 12 months. Like if you look longer term, Wyndham's a really good wedge player, but like over the last 12 months, it's regressed just a bit. But he just does still top the field in good shot percentage from 100 to 150 over his last 12 months. 10.7% of approach shots from that range have settled within 6 feet of the hole, so that leads the field in that metric. So yeah, you're looking for guys that stick, their wedges and their short irons close. He certainly fits that criteria. And then you couple that with, again, one of the more impressive point of track records of this field. So I think there's a lot of merit to Clark 80-90 to 1. So I'm right there with you.
Yeah, I might get there on him. It's tough when you get down the board this much, at an event that's this strong of a field, to kind of weed out which guys you think might actually have a chance to win. Do you have any thoughts on Sahith Theegala this week?
Dude, we're reading each other's mail.
He's he's hitting it really well on approach. He's putting it well. The last, for the whole, looks like the whole start of the season, he's putted pretty well. He was really bad off the tee this week, but he's another one where, if you're kind of clubbing down this week and off the tee, we're going to sort of ignore. There's a lot to like about him this week. Deep down the board, might be worth taking a shot.
Dude, I saw 120 to 1 on Theegala, which I thought was ridiculous. Again, it's kind of less about the long-term data with him. He doesn't rate out particularly well for me, but Pebble Beach has always kind of struck me as a course that should suit his game. Poa greens, he's a West Coast kid. De-emphasis on off the tee, which has always been his biggest historical bugaboo. And then a wedge-intensive layout that's not dissimilar from where he won at Procore, the Silverado Resort up in NorCal. Kapalua, of course, he's come runner-up there in the past. Coastal, windswept, kind of wedge-intensive golf course, easier score conditions. River Highlands, another short iron wedge course. PJ West as well. So a lot of the golf courses he tends to play pretty well at consistently are, I think, are at least corollary fits to Pebble Beach. And again, Wyndham, similar to Wyndham, his incoming form is way too good for him to be 100, 120 to 1. He's finished 31st, 8th, 7th, and 18th over his first 4 starts of the year. Last week, he gained 3.1 shots in approach, 7.9 with a short game, which is the prototypical CT Gala profile. Just put the lights out, stay neutral off the tee, and gain a little bit on approach. So, he's my favorite guy above 100 to 1. If I had to write a long shot article, he'd probably be at the top of my queue. So, yeah, we're
seeing him on mine very soon.
Well, heck yeah.
All right, well, that's good that we're on kind of the same page on some of these deeper guys. Did you have anyone else that you were considering down here?
Not really. I was so engrossed with we talked about so many guys 45 to 75 that's probably going to make it the crux of my card this week. And then, I didn't really see anyone too interesting down here. Ryo Hisatsune, 150 to 1, given how he's played the last couple of weeks. I felt maybe the books are a little bit slow to adjust, but again, I can't really see him winning. Look at a guy Danny McCarthy. Again, this is a week where if you just have that elite tool with either your wedge play or putting, I think you're live. I mean, this is a place where Brendan Todd's found success at. Denny's actually come third here in the past as well. But you don't have to be the Tom Hoagie, right? An elite wedge player doesn't really do much else well, has played well consistently. So if you just do one of those two things really well, either putt or hit your wedges, I think you're live to contend. So McCarthy or a post, I think make a lot of sense this week. Alex Noren, 100 to 1. He doesn't really have the track record here, but I mean, he was maybe the hottest player in the world over the fall swing, and he's made 2 starts on the PGA Tour, and all of a sudden he's dipped down in the triple digits. So, yeah, and no one I've really, really circled outside of Wyndham and Sahith. You already touched on my 2 favorites, so we're on the same page there. But we're already almost an hour and a half in, so these people are probably tired of us talking about it.
Yeah, I don't know if there's too many names. And we touched on this with just the stronger fields, the guys down here that actually have a legitimate chance to come out and win the tournament against, Scotty on Sunday and a Rory. So it's tough to, to kind of pick some of these guys and think they have a legitimate shot. But maybe for, placements and stuff to, take a look at and consider.
For sure. All right, man. Well, as always, you can find Matt's content at Matty Mills 85. Again, he produces a long shot article every week, which I think this week is in particular is really helpful because I think Pebble Beach is one of the few signature events we'll get all year that I think 100 to 1 long shots perfectly live. So yeah, definitely stay tuned for that article. We come on the air every Monday night at 7:30. So yeah, we appreciate everyone hopping in, John and Chris. Appreciate the comments, guys. And yeah, I think so far we tend to agree on Ludwig. I'm on Colin. He's on Burns. I think I'm close on Day as well, which Matt's already locked in. So I won't make you make a decision here, but if you like below 40 to 1, like who's the guy that you're leaning towards the most? Is it Hovland?
Probably Hovland. Yeah. It's probably Hovland there. So I'll probably end up with Vic, Day, Ludwig, Burns, and then in consideration on like the Colin, Wyndham, Sahith group, I'll probably have maybe 2 of them in there. I'll see who ends up getting cut. Whoever it does is probably going to play well and screw me.
It is what it is. But yeah, I think this is definitely productive for me. Kind of sorting through a lot of the guys because I had so many guys on my short list. So I think I've made some progress in terms of eliminating some guys off the card. But yeah, right now I've locked in Colin and Ludwig. I'm probably I feel like I'm more in the Rose camp than I am the Victor camp, but I can see both being on the card by week's end. It depends on maybe what some numbers that pop up as the week goes on, but yeah, I'll have the card out in a couple by tomorrow evening or Wednesday morning. I'll have the card out as Chris has posted a very insightful Tyler Reddick call more Cal parlay. It's the Daytona 500 coming up this week, so 1,420 to 1. Who says no? Hey, why not? Why not $5 down on that? That would be legendary. That would carry the show for 5 years. We wouldn't have to hit it out right 5 years if that one hit. So all right, guys. Well, again, we really appreciate you guys sticking around with us, and I know it went long, but lots to talk about this week, and even maybe even a better event coming up in a week's time at Riviera, which I think in terms of the West Coast swing, it doesn't get much better for me. So yeah, for Matt, Ian, hour and a half in. Have a great night, y'all, and best of luck at Pebble Beach.